Let's go. I am actually 4 minutes early. Look at me go. So, Jax West from Justice with Jax, Avery Project, and MAM Gossip. I wanted to go live today to go over last night. ABC aired an episode. It wasn't just straight up 2020, but um, but it because 2020 is on Fridays, but this is some show they're putting on Monday, I guess. Um, so it was on Marnie's case called, and they called it Bad Romance. Um, I took notes while I watched it, and then I wrote up a review of it that I posted on Justice with Jax. And so, what I am going to do is I am going to read it and we'll make other comments as I go because I'm sure I will have more to say than what I wrote. So, yeah, I'm just going to read it as it goes because that'll be the best way that I can keep track of where I'm at as opposed to me just being squirrel and saying other things and then losing my train of thought. So here we go. I knew going into watching this episode that it was going to be bad. Let me go back a little bit. I just went through my emails so I would have exact dates. On November 8, 2023, I was asked to send the videos the Marni Yang team has done with the experts on the case to the producers of 2020. I sent them a link to where they could watch them on November 15, 2023. Because it took me a little time, well not me, it took Jeff. My husband Jeff had to do this work. We've got a whole bunch of interviews that were filmed with the different people from Marnie's team, the different experts. And so we had to edit those where because like there's somebody who is interviewing those people and asking them a question, and so you don't want the person answering the question. It's no different than, when you watch any true crime show, the person that's interviewing these people most times isn't sitting there. You just see that they're talking to somebody. So it was a lot of work that Jeff had to do in editing these videos. And then we put them up on the freemarniyang.com website. There's a tab on that website called docu-series. And so that's where you can see each one. It's not just our experts, it's also Marnie's father and Marnie's twins. I believe one of Marnie's daughter's friends that is like a daughter to Marnie. So there's a lot you can see there. And 2020 wanted to have these videos. So they got edited and got sent to them. I don't hear anything on it again until February 5, 2024. One of the producers emailed me and asked if I would give them permission to use pictures from Marnie's website and the Facebook page. I approved it. They asked for higher res pics of the recent photos, so I sent them those. I sent them 9 pictures as a matter of fact. I sent them pictures of when Marnie was young, pictures, with her kids. I sent a picture of the last time I brought Marnie's dad to the prison to visit Marnie. So there's a picture of Larry and Marnie. I sent a picture of my visits with Marnie. So I sent a whole bunch to then see. They only used 2 prison pictures that you see all the time, so nothing new, same old pictures. On February 12th, another producer emailed me and asked if he could talk to me sometime about the case. He wanted to know the history of the case for the last 5 years. I said I would gladly talk to him, but that Marnie's attorney would be the best to talk to about the legal stuff, so I arranged for them to talk. The last day I had any contact with the producers was February 13th. Because, I mean, obviously, if you watch this, you know that I will talk about this case, but I am not the expert. I am not the best one to talk to. And when this producer was questioning, where this case has been in the last 5 years, the attorney would be the best person to talk to. Imagine my surprise that on March 11th, I got a text from someone on Marnie's team that they came across on accident that 2020 was airing an alleged new episode on Marnie that night. I was annoyed that they didn't even give me a heads up that they were airing it after all the help I gave them. They had done an episode on Marnie a few years ago, and they did a horrible job. They didn't cover the facts and only went off what the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force and the prosecutors claimed happened. I just knew that Marnie was not going to get a fair depiction again. When I got home from work, I set my DVR. Then my husband and I started watching it about 20 minutes after it began airing at 9 p.m. I took notes, so I will go off those so I can cover what they claimed and then I can tell you the real story. Here we go. They start out by claiming that former Chicago Bear Sean Gale was, quote, sharing his life with a woman he loves, unquote. That couldn't be farther from the truth. They did not live together. He didn't pay her rent or any of her bills. Yes, they were together for almost 18 years. But many of the other women he was, I don't know what you call it. Is it dating? He had a stable of 17 women he was seeing all at the same time. He never made any secret that he was not monogamous. He did not want marriage or children. He met Ronnie when he was at the Bears practice camp in Wisconsin. He wasn't the first or second Bear to date Ronnie. Ronnie then followed Sean back to Chicago and tried to move close to him. He didn't ask her to or want her there. She had prior pregnancies that Sean had her abort, and he didn't want any children or to be financially tied to anyone. Ronnie wanted children, and she wanted Sean. Now that she was 41, she knew this could be her last chance to be a mother, so she didn't tell Sean she was pregnant at first, so she would be able to keep this one. And I just want to point out, because I'm sure people will say that last paragraph, that I am talking crap about the victim, and I'm not. I'm just stating facts. Ronnie dated multiple Chicago Bears and then ended up with Sean Gale. There's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead, date the whole team. I don't care. But when the show is kind of hinting at like they have some love story, um, they don't. Ronnie wanted it to be, but it wasn't. Um, all right. The reporter on 2020 brags that Sean Gale said he only wanted to do one interview and for it to air only one time, and he chose her. They get all dramatic, saying before 8 a.m. there were 7 bullets fired. Before 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Sean claims he was called by a sports reporter and told that a woman was murdered in Deerfield. I don't know how that would make you think it was one of Sean's stable of girls, as I am sure he wasn't going around telling people he got one of them pregnant either. Sean calls the police department to ask if he was a suspect, and we hear what sounds to me to be overly dramatic, fake crying. How would, again, Ronnie was not Sean's girlfriend. It was just one of the many girls he was dating. Sean didn't tell people about the girls he was dating. So a reporter hearing about a woman was shot in Deerfield, how would you know that was to reach out to Sean Gale. That sounded really suspicious to me and makes no sense. Like he didn't go to events with Ronnie on his arm. You know, not saying she didn't ever go anywhere, but he brought all these different girls to all these different things. So I just don't know in this quick window of time how a sports reporter is going to hear about this and know that it's connected to Sean Gale. For Sean then to call the police. Um, Two witnesses reached out to police to say they saw someone leaving the condo. One said they saw a teenager running across the parking lot. The other said it was someone in a disguise. The show didn't include that witnesses said the suspect was a black guy. Sean voluntarily went to the police station. The cops on the show claimed they were suspicious of him, but when they saw him, they saw how distraught he was, but that he calmed down during the interrogation. Sean told them he slept in, worked out, and then went to the barber shop that was 10 minutes from Ronnie's. The show does not tell you that Sean did not usually go to the barber shop at 7 in the morning. How is that sleeping in, by the way? He wasn't a current football player. He had no reason to be up early, but he was just so lucky to be at a barber shop at 7 a.m. to have this alibi. Think about that because he's saying he was up early, he worked out, and then went to the barber shop. The shooting occurred before 8 a.m. And so, how long did the shooting happen? And then somebody calls Sean. I just doesn't make any sense. So Sean suggested one of his girlfriends as a suspect. Not Marni, but it was a woman named Monica that he got a restraining order against. Monica had gone to his house and saw through the window that he was with another woman, so she punched his window and broke it. The 17 women that he was dating all got a letter exposing Sean's current list of women. Sean thought Monica sent it as it had broken English like how Monica would speak. Ronnie got a letter and so did her mother. The letter was in Ronnie's purse when she was killed. The show kept showing a list of addresses of the women, but they didn't really go into it or explain it or point out that Marnie's name is also on that list that they are claiming that Marni sent the letters. But Marni also got one of those letters. Marni met Sean at a Bears convention. She would buy investment properties. Sean called her 2 hours after the event ended. Marni and Sean started buying properties together, and they would have sex. It wasn't a dating relationship. She didn't think Sean was her boyfriend. She also dated other people while sometimes having sex with Sean. But their relationship was mostly business. They keep trying to say that Marni was like obsessed with Sean and, now has to get out her competition. She didn't think of this as a relationship. This was a friend with benefits kind of thing. Police first questioned Marni 2 months after the murder. Cops claimed Marni bragged about being Sean's girlfriend, and Sean denies that she was that. Did Marni ever brag to people about being with Sean? I don't know. I would not be surprised if she did, but she didn't say she was his girlfriend. I mean, I could see her saying to people that, she's dating a Super Bowl bear. If you're not here from Chicago, you have no clue how big of rock stars, superstars, these 85 Super Bowl Chicago Bears are here. They're royalty. So, I mean, did she name drop? I mean, I don't personally know if she did, but maybe she did. So what? That doesn't mean she's going to kill off any other people that are dating him because, again, she knew the entire time that he's dating a whole bunch of people. And she was dating people too. Um, The cops claimed Marnie was stalking Sean online, and they think she studied Monica's broken English and mastered it to write those letters. They cleared Sean in just a couple of weeks. Now, I want to say I can't speak for Marnie. I can speak for me. If I'm hooking up with a guy and I get this letter listing the names of all these other people that they're having sex with, I absolutely am going to Google them and look them up. Wouldn't you? You know, not only is there the are you going to get an STD, you know, who you guys are sharing a dick. Um I'd be curious. That's not me trying to do something to the other people. It's I mean that's natural to want to see who these other people are. So if Marnie had been googling any of these people, to me it's totally understandable and not suspicious in the slightest. There wasn't any physical evidence tying Marnie to the crime. She was the one who was stalked by the police for a year. They would regularly go through her trash. They tapped her phone. They followed her and her children. They came across one of Marnie's bank statements in her trash and saw she bought 2 books on making a homemade silencer. Then they saw a Home Depot receipt that they took the items on that list and claimed that was to make a silencer. First of all, it's not a silencer, it's a suppressor. You cannot silence a fired bullet. Second, Marnie bought the books as a joke for her on again, off again boyfriend who was a cop. Third, the items on the Home Depot receipt was to fix a plumbing issue at I don't know if it was one of her investment properties or her own home. I don't remember which it was. Um, Fourth, you cannot make a silencer suppressor out of PVC that would connect to the gun that Marnie had owned that they claimed was used in this crime. Fifth, the gun was stolen from Marnie a year prior, and there is evidence to that fact. Sixth, that gun is big and heavy and was also misfiring, as someone as tiny as Marnie, with her little hands, would not have been able to do what they claim with that gun. I could go on and on. Where is Marnie's hand? I have. See, why do I always do this? I know it's here, around here somewhere. Is Marnie's hand. Well, all right, this isn't the cardboard. This, on one of my visits with Marnie, she took a piece of paper and traced her hand. She also signed it. I don't know if you can even see that because it's written in this light green. So she signed it. It says M. Yang 6119. So 2019. So on a visit in 2019 is when she did that. You compare it to my hand. Look at how much bigger my hand is than her hand. Her hands are teeny tiny hands. So I don't know what those noises are that are going off on my computer. Here is me standing next to Marnie on a prison visit. She's a teeny tiny little thing. I am, once upon a time, I was 5'7". Now I'm 5'6". According to my doctors, I've shrunk. And Marnie is 4'9". The victim was 5'9". We'll get back to that. Oh. Sorry. Now by me setting down my iPad where I'm reading the thing, it went out of where I was. So now I gotta scroll back. Scrolling. Alright, here we go. Alright. Marnie's 16-year-old son, Andrew, was homesick from school. Marnie went to go to work and her car wouldn't start. The show then says Andrew said that Marnie wasn't home that day, but they don't tell you the actual facts. That there is proof of Marnie calling Andrew from her garage to ask for help with the car. The show has Marnie being interrogated and she was asked about the books. She said it was a joke. She tells them she has 4 guns. They say she left out the 9mm and made that sound like it was suspicious. In reality, my husband's just pulling in the driveway, so my dogs are barking. In reality, the gun was stolen by one of her son's friends, along with some other items like a gaming system and an underwater camera. She didn't mention that gun because she didn't have it anymore. The kid that stole the gun has even told the police that he did it, but they don't want to hear it. They have their narrative, and they are going to force those square pegs into the round holes. They held Marnie for 3 days. 1 year after the murder, they bring in this woman that Marnie knew. The cops ask her to work with them. Well, I should say the show framed it like that when that isn't what happened. Christy was told that she was to tell them what they wanted, or they were going to charge her as an accessory to the crime. This is how they constantly operated. They said that to Marnie's kids, too. The show now goes to the infamous confession audio from Denny's. You hear Marnie saying she put the gun in a bucket of cement and threw it away. She says that Ronnie tried to take one last kick at her shin, so she fired the final shot. The show doesn't tell you that according to science and how Ronnie was shot, she was dead almost immediately, and there would be no attempt to kick as it is just not possible. They arrested Marnie in March of 2009. Marnie's lawyers up and they make that look like she must be guilty. Oh, Marnie lawyers up. Okay, Marnie lawyers up. So she's asking for a lawyer. Um, and they make that look like she must be guilty. Don't let them do that to you if you are ever in that position. You do not have to talk to the police ever. Asking for a lawyer isn't guilt, but smart. I have been involved in enough wrongful conviction cases to know that cops are not your friend and aren't talking to you to help you. They want to clear their case, and truth and justice is not always a priority. Do not talk to police for any reason without a lawyer present. Period. The show tried to make it look like, again, that Marnie was obsessed with Sean, which is so laughable. They show a tiny piece of her daughter Emily on the stand and her saying that her mom told her she sent those letters. But they don't show you that Emily has talked about what was done to her in the interrogations and how she was forced to say things that weren't true. If you go to freemarnying.com and watch a video with Emily, you can see what she has to say on that. I know so many of my followers are here due to my involvement in the Stephen Avery case. If you don't have any doubt that Brendan Dassey was coerced into a false confession, why do people just assume anyone else just freely says these things to cops? Marnie is smart, but is on the spectrum. But you don't have to have a low IQ to be manipulated by trained interrogators. The alleged friend was on the stand for a day. They dramatized things and claimed 2 bullets were aimed at the pregnant belly to kill the baby. Marnie was found guilty and sentenced to natural life without the possibility of parole. The jury debated for only 4 hours. The show went to visit Marnie in prison in May 2020. It ended so abruptly. The last 5 minutes quickly said that Marnie has a hearing in 2024, which is actually tomorrow. I'll skip that part. They said the Denny's confession isn't what it seems and that Marnie saw the wire. They said she wanted to protect her son as they told him it was you or your mother going down for this. Then it ends. No second episode. Nothing. They end saying Marnie has been in prison for 17 years. Okay, so I'm going to stop reading what I wrote there. So I am not going to get into The evidence we have on Marnie, the live for now was just for me to go over this 2020 episode and how disappointed I am with all the information that's been provided to them, that this was just yet another recycled of other episodes they've done, which is skewered to make it look like they have these set facts, and Marnie is obviously guilty, and that they put this out conveniently the same week that Marnie is going to court. So we do have court tomorrow for Marnie. Marnie is her prison is about a 4 hour drive away from her the Lake County Courthouse, and Marnie will be there tomorrow, so I will be there. Um, I am picking up Marnie's dad. He lives about a half hour from the courthouse, so I'm going to be picking him up and bringing him to court. Court is scheduled to be at 1:15 p.m. Central Time. Um, and so depending on what happens, I will go live tomorrow night after work to talk about what happened in court. And I'm going to bring a notepad um, and take notes of what happens while we're in court. And, I'll go live, talk about what happened in court, talk about the evidence on, um, and we will go from there. So, but you can go to, like I said, that freemarniyang.com, go into the tab that says docu-series, and that's where you can watch videos with the experts of a lot of the evidence that there is to prove that Marni Yang is innocent. So, um, yeah, and I was just so surprised by the end of that 2020, because like when there's 20 minutes left in the hour, I was saying to my husband, I'm like, there's going to have to be a second episode, because they're still rehashing all the stuff that they've done before. They're not showing anything new. And nothing I had sent them, not the pictures I sent them, there's nothing about the evidence that we have. How is it a well-rounded episode if you're not showing both sides? And I know this, and we've talked about this before, because we know this from Steven's case, we know this from Melissa's case, that it makes everything suspicious, because I watch, true crime stuff, 2020 and Dateline and the ID channel and stuff. But when I see something like this, it's now, it takes away from watching any other show they ever do, because I know you're not putting all the facts in episode on Marnie. So who says the one that I watched this Friday is factual? So do I have to start thinking of this stuff not as true crime? I don't know. So, but lots to say, Marni Yang. I know the stuff you see out there makes it look like this is open and shut, and this woman is guilty, but let me tell you, she's not. She's just not. There's actual science. There's witnesses. I mean, video. There's so much to prove. DNA, that she's innocent and that she's just wasting away in prison. Yet another person wrongfully convicted. So, all right, I'm going to go. I don't know when I will be live tomorrow, because I don't know how long court's gonna last. It shouldn't be long, because what the hope is that the judge is going to then say, we're gonna go to either, like an setting a date for an evidentiary hearing or a new trial. Um, so, and then I got organized with the press for um Marnie's kids and her dad and the lawyer and stuff as they talk to the press, and then I'll drop her dad back off at home, and then I will go back to work and then come home. So and then go live. So just stay tuned to Justice with Jax. I'll let Christopher know when I'm going to be able to hop on a live, and he'll make a post here, and so you guys will know when to expect me to give you an update. So, um, all right, off I go. Investigation continues.